We're talking about marketing today, and this is one of the number one questions I get. There's no perfect answer as anything with marketing. And I do feel like I want to preface by saying right now, this is for your information, sales are really, really low for tours and activities with a US based audience. So these are like much bigger multinational companies that are seeing this. I think there's a lot of exceptions with small content created experiences or people with a built-in audience. Like they are, I do see people filling up their tours still. But in general, because of the economy, because of the election coming up, and because people's sort of like post-pandemic, like just got to get out and travel has veered off. Again, this is talking about a US audience specific. There has been a huge, huge, huge decrease in most multi-day operators. Want, want. So it's tough market. But like I said, I do think there's a lot of opportunity for smaller operators who have bigger audiences. So I'm going to share my screen. Actually, I'll just present it. And so I won't see the chat, but what we can do is you could just, if you think of something and you want to ask it, just put it into the chat and I can make sure to go back when I finish. So I'll share the screen here. Okay. Maybe I should have saved all that for the end because now it feels like, oh, well, does this stuff work? Present here. But these are fun things. I really like marketing actually. So converting your audience. Okay, so this is taking into consideration the audience that you have, which we are going to talk about. First, you need to evaluate your audience. And this is kind of a recap of what we spoke about when we were talking about your brand as a tour. So what does your audience want, right? If you have a blog, if you have a newsletter, and you have people that you're already talking to and you're thinking, okay, I want this audience. This is who I'm thinking will take these tours, or they've been asking you, hey, we'd love to travel with you. You want to think about what they want, right? Are they going to be able to match what kind of tours you want to create? Like, let's say you really want to do luxury tours, but your audience is, you have like a budget blog, probably not going to be a good fit for those tours, right? So you either need to rethink the experiences or find a new audience. What can they afford, right? Is your audience looking for short trips, long trips? If you have a US audience, they are going to look at long weekends might be popular. Maybe they want one destination like city breaks over a weekend, maybe a week, but then you have to be mindful of when people can take them. If you happen to have an Australian audience, you're looking at 20-day long trips, right? You have to think about what they're looking for, what they can afford, price range. Do you have a luxury blog and you have all these people who love luxury travel, but if you really think about the audience that you have, they aspire to luxury travel, but maybe they can't actually afford it. All things you just need to think about, again, if you already have an audience. Then you can think about what they're already buying, right? So what do you know about your audience? What kinds of things are they purchasing? Are they spending their money on coaching because they're building their own businesses? Are they spending their money on travel? Are they spending their money on food because it's a foodie audience? Just kind of get a sense of where their money's going. And what can't they do on their own that need help with? This is a very obvious marketing question, but you want to make sure your tour fills that niche. That is the easiest way to get people to book your experience, is if they can't do it on their own, right? What are you offering that's exclusive? A lot of times, which is kind of easy, it might just be you. Maybe they legitimately want to travel with you as a person. You've built this really great relationship with your audience. And that's great because here you are, you exist. And it's very easy to bring to a tour. Of course, then you have to host the tour, but that's for another session. So that's evaluating your audience. So I would say you want to ask yourself, is your current audience a customer base for the experience you want to create? Either yes or no, right? If yes, you could start your marketing plan. If no, you have to then find your customer, right? So you're kind of starting from the beginning. How are you going to find a customer? What are you going to feed to them? Where are they? How can you get in front of them? It just is a little bit of an extra step. So let's say you're finding your customer. Who are they? You could do customer profile, user personas. There's a bunch of different names for this, but it's basically you are having an idea of who you want to attract, who you want to get in front of, who's perfect for the experience you want to create. And then you're going to make up people. So you can actually do this if you have an existing audience. I love making customer profiles. I just think it's really fun and creative. You can give them like little names and little backstories. They could have whole lives. Mine are always like, when I do this for other companies, it's like way too advanced. Everyone's like, I don't need to know their favorite quote, but I just think it's really fun. So here are some things you could check. That's hopefully clickable in the video when you watch this in reply. If not, I'll put it in the chat when I finish. But there's a template that I really like from SEMrush. Canva also has templates. So if you type in user persona into Canva, you'll see a whole bunch of really, really pretty ones. And you could see here, you really kind of put in there like, what are they making? What's their education? What are they interested in? And it seems fluffy and I don't know, like a fun creative activity if you've never done this before, but actually it makes it much easier to develop all your marketing because you know exactly who you're talking to. And you maybe want to have like 1 to 3 max customer profiles that you're reaching out to. So whenever I'm doing like, I'm putting together ads or I'm putting together a campaign, when I'm thinking about the photos, the copy, the tone that I'm using, I'm thinking about people. Like, okay, if I need Olivia to like stop scrolling her feed, what photo is going to attract her? It makes it much, much easier to like narrow down because otherwise, you know, you're looking at all the photos on Unsplash and you're like, oh, where do I start? So that's just some tips on finding an audience. I find that's a really fun activity. A marketing plan. Let's say you know your audience, you know who you're going for. Here are some ideas that you need to think about. What is your runway? This is something people miss all the time. You have to think about how long you need for people to book. To, like industry standard. And again, I say these so you're aware of like what's used in the industry, but you are breaking out of the industry a little bit just by being a woman, just by having a small business. But industry standard is you want at least 6 months for someone to buy. So you want it on your website, and then you want at least 6 months from the point you put it on your website. There is a button to book it, and people can join on the trip. Other things to think about. There are popular booking periods. And again, this is going to depend on your audience, where they live, their demographic. But if we're talking US based, May, right? Just before summer, not going into summer, that is a good booking period. Just after the holidays, surprisingly, that is a good booking period. Periods that aren't good booking periods, summer, people are not booking during the summer. Holidays, as opposed to like, yes, if it's gifty things they could gift for a holiday, but otherwise people are not going to be like thinking about their family vacation. They're going to be thinking about it, maybe talking about it during holiday dinners and then booking it afterwards. So you just want to be aware of when people are going to likely to be booked, because that's when you want to make your big marketing splash. If you're having like, let's say a campaign to say, hey, these are my new trips for the year. And keep in mind too, not to get too into the weeds, but the runway is like, okay, you need to enter your website 6 months in advance. Well, how long does it take to put on your website? Right? Like now, one of the bigger companies I'm working for now has a copywriter who takes all of the information from the local operator, and because you know they send you really boring itineraries and they're jazzing it up, and then someone from the team has to then upload that onto the website, which is a very complex CMS form. Photos have to be chosen. I mean, that's like a couple-week process just to get it from here's the itinerary and here it is on the website. So just things to think about. You basically need to give yourself a lot of time. Um, Waitlist signups. Damaris actually has a really great example. Maybe she'll share with us at the end. Of you can actually put, if you're like, I don't have all the information yet, but I just want to see if people are interested. That's a great technique that you can kind of put up a trip and have the general gist of it. Like, this is the vibe, this is what we're going to be doing, but you don't have details yet. You maybe don't even have pricing yet. You get people sign up for your wait list, then have some questions that they have to answer to get on the wait list. Like, what do you normally spend on a vacation? Like, what price range are you using? When do you like to travel? How far in advance do you book? You can ask them all these questions, and it's amazing the info that you can get back. And then they're ready. They're warm leads, right? We're going to use that sales term. So when you do launch, you send it to all of them, and they've been waiting for this trip. And there's ways, again, you could look this up. There's tons of techniques to do this. You can engage with that wait list. You can send them contact teasers about the trip. That's another great strategy if you're not exactly sure when you want to launch. Then you can build your timeline. And look, this is like aspirational. If you're just thinking about doing one tour, maybe next year, you might not be building this out. But it's all censored because it's a real one that I'm working on for a company. But basically, I like to put things out for the entire year. So what I have in here, these like the golden section and the pink section, those are actually other campaigns happening within the company, just so we're aware of like the bandwidth of the marketing team and what they're going to have because they work with several departments. And then I have down here the final one in teal. This is the actual campaign. So in January, they had a very specific campaign. And then we're going to do a launch campaign for 2025 trips in 2 weeks. Just before that, we're going to do a lead generation campaign. So we're going to make a big effort and push to get people onto the newsletter so that when we launch using our newsletter, the audience is a little bit increased. And I do this, I recommend for companies to do this, I should say, every year. And again, that's like next level, but you could start thinking about this even if you're thinking small. It's nice to kind of see for the year because then you know exactly, okay, if the campaign is launching in May, I know I need to have everything ready to go mid-April, right? Like I want to have all the content written, all the photos chosen. I want to know where I'm going to post everything. But I'm going on vacation in the early April. So maybe now I need to do it in March, right? It's just good to have a general sense so you're not scrambling. Just a quick note on newsletter versus paid ads. Paid ads are still a traditional way. So paid Facebook ads, paid Instagram ads, especially because you can retarget. We're not going to talk about paid marketing in this class. That would be for someone else, quite frankly, to do because it's very specific, but that is still very much used because you could target very specific people, demographics, where they live. But newsletters has been the statistic I've been seeing again and again have the best return rate and conversion rate. So if you have spent time building a newsletter, even if you're thinking about maybe, you know, my audience is very specific, what I talk about is very specific, maybe I want to branch into a newsletter for my audience who are interested in traveling with me, that might be a thing, but that has been much better payoff for companies as in the past year. Referrals is another great way to market. So if you've run any trips, it is a great way to like reach out to people, say, hey, if you bring a friend, you get a discount, incentivize them to bring more people or to share. Sales channels, so affiliate links. Right, it's something a lot of you are very familiar with. You can do affiliate links for other content creators, even other content creators who do experiences, right? And who are running active, maybe they're running leisure yoga retreats and you want to run like super active hiking retreats. Well, great, you're not doing the same thing, but it's kind of a similar audience. That would be someone to get together of. And you can kind of, you know, say if you buy 2 of our tours, you get a discount. Or, you know, if you buy my tour, you get a discount for her discount, or for my audience, you get a discount. And then they get an affiliate link for that. So they're incentivized to promote your trips as well to their own audience. And then travel advisors. A lot of you are travel advisors or dabbling, or you're in that very strange in-between place that we are right now in the industry where there are a lot of people who are like kind of travel advisors, kind of creating tours. We're not quite sure what to call it yet. Because they're two totally different worlds that do the same thing, and now they're combining. But travel advisors are a great, 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 easy way to get into business to business, B2B, where you can reach out to local travel advisors, reach out. You could find people on Instagram. Now, travel advisors are using social media a lot. You could use hashtags, find them, connect with them, right? It's, again, building those relationships, which is probably something you are much better suited to do than these multinational companies. And you can find these smaller travel advisors and say, hey, I see that you run, you know, you kind of show a lot of, again, luxury is just easy to talk about, or maybe Italy. I see that you specialize in Italy and you send a lot of your clients to Italy. And in the photos that you're posting on Instagram, they look like they're kind of similar to the demographic that I cater to. Here are my trips. I would love to work with you. And travel advisors in general, I mean, polite industry standard is 20% commission that they would get off of your tour. So you're making a little bit less, but they're selling your tours, and they're a great, great, great relationship to have. You want to bump that up, then they'll really help sell your tours. Oh, okay. Oh, are we at the end of it? Oh, okay. Yes. So, those are just some things to think about. And I know it's kind of a lot of information and not super targeted, but I just kind of wanted to put in your head the things that you should be thinking about when you're thinking about marketing a tour. So I'm going to stop sharing. And we can stop recording, please. And we can open